Time to tackle the crack on the frame that's part of the fuel tank on the harvester. It was brought to the garage for this last winter. It was probably there too, and we didn't. Well, I didn't notice because it was filled up and then going downhill mainly when operating, and uphill it was low on fuel. Now it's been operated in uphill conditions with more fuel, and have seen diesel kind of seep out through the crack. Uh, Looked at pressurizing the fuel tank to kind of verify the leak and see where it was at. Tried removing the filter, but that would not budge. Would have required a big, very thin tool. So just unbolted the hose, some soapy water, and pressurized it, and sure, you can see it's bubbling. So that was no big surprise, but that could help show the extent of the crack also. So started dismounting things, removed the pump for the diesel heater, put that out of the way. There is kind of a bracket here with where you can fill the hydraulic oil, and has a switch there, and there is also kind of a junction box for a lot of wiring under it. So wanted to move the wiring a little out of the way from the heat regarding welding. It's just held in place with two bolts, and it can be lifted out and kind of moved a little to the side. There is also a central lubing connection here, and I marked the hoses for that with just a bunch of zip ties to be able to remount them in the correct place. They didn't want to budge I'm not sure what you call these couplings, but a tap on the side of it, and it started being possible to remove it. It's kind of a cone that digs into the plastic hose. And then I had some leftover saved pieces I had cut to length and tightened there in place, just to not get dirt in the connectors. Discussed a little with my dad how to tackle this. The fire suppression was removed. I had unhooked the brain for this that's in the cab. Nothing here needed to be removed, it was just moved to the side. The ventilator, I missed the vent connection for the hose for the fuel tank when that was removed, and found some plugs that could fit there to secure it. Here there is a pin that's supposed to be able to lock the cover for this area, but the lock has been removed by previous owners, so I removed the pin also. Pipe feeding the diesel heater, the block for the central lubing had a bolt on it also that was removed. Removed the lid assembly for the fuel tank. It's kind of a bar under there that kind of clamps it in place. Had done a little bit of research regarding welding fuel tanks and so on, and some say diesel, just weld, do whatever you want. Others say weld it full, and some say everything will explode as soon as you walk out the front door. But we decided to actually fill it up. I opened up the cap and just covered it. Should something explode, it has a big hole to escape the gases through. We were not gonna cut all the way through to actually, we cut roughly 2/3 of the material thickness down the groove. Removed some old weld to get into the far corner. A rotary tool was used. The angle grinder couldn't really get all the way in there. Nothing exploded so far. I hadn't filled up the fuel tank when I started cutting. But for the welding and preheating. I wanted it filled up and ground away little paint on the tab to have a good grounding point for the welder. Added some more of that fireproof rag, and then a piece of sheet metal was used as a heat protection. I also filled it, since I have a soda stream, I filled it with carbon dioxide. That's an inert gas and will not catch on fire, to kind of push out any combustible explosive fumes. And then I started heating for quite a while to have some heat in the material. Did put some more gas in there before actually welding. My dad does the welding. I should learn to do it. And I'm sure we're using the wrong welder and the wrong filler and the wrong everything, but if it doesn't hold up, it will probably start leaking fuel again. And once welded, cap could go back in place. I wanted to do that pressure test again. Soapy water and plugging one end of the vent hose that was unbolted. I'm not sure if I got a perfect seal, but pushing air in there, it's only going in through the other side of the tank, because there are tanks on both sides of the machine, but it should have built up pressure enough to create bubbles had there been a leak. Then I struggled with filling the central lubing, because the unit I have from Swedol that attaches to a bucket of grease is a piece of shit. Do not buy it. Swedol has bad stuff. Check the plugs on the bogie, and the front one very little metal shavings, the rear one quite a lot, so it's in the future that will be opened again, it looks like. Did some more cleanup under that connection box, bolted that central lubing block back in place, had been undone to be able to get that fire rag and bend it a little out of the way. Remove the temporary pieces and put the hoses back. Left the zip ties in place, just trimmed off the excess. Since I didn't have different colors zip ties, I just added the number of them. I have a lot of them in the cabinet, so had some struggle getting the bolts for the bracket. Here you can see the vent hose. It actually has a washer, kind of a conical with this kind of sealing washer under it also, that's not really seen. So you tighten the bolt with a hole in, and then there is a cap for it at the top. Lifting the heavy fire suppression unit back in place. It's a two-man job. And then back with the pipe for the diesel heater. At the end of this video I forgot to add the vent hose up to where the filter is mounted, but remember that the other day, so it was done in the field, and I'm not sure if I got video. I lubed the bogies while it was close to the garage. So it's up and running and seems to not be leaking, so that's good.